So tonight's topic is how to work from home. And I thought I'd like to do this because well, for one thing, I love talking about working from home. And for another thing, it's it's a subject that a lot of people have some kind of misconceptions about. And learning to work from home, if you've always worked in somebody else's office or facility, whatever that kind of facility is, takes some adjusting to. So the first thing I always suggest to people is to ask yourself, why do you want to work from home? We all have our own reasons. Now, for me, my biggest reason is to have control over my schedule. But there are lots of other reasons why people choose to work from home. 9 of the most popular reasons include saving money. The average commuter spends about $4,600 a year just to commute, which is horrendous. Save time. Again, the average commuter gets back about 11 days annually in time saved not having to drive back and forth to work. You get to enjoy better work-life balance. There's less stress. You have more time for the things that interest you, like community involvement or hobbies or worthy causes, whatever it is. It's easier to improve your health, your wellness, and your fitness. Along with the lack of commute, you can reduce your carbon footprint. For some people, it's a way to kind of ease into retirement rather than going straight from, working full-time outside the home and then being home all the time, which can be quite a jolt. It gives them a chance to kind of adjust gradually. And the ultimate reason is to be happier. So, would anybody else like to volunteer some reasons why they are interested in working from home? If you can put it in the chat, if you can, or if you can't put it in the chat, go ahead and unmute yourself and just speak up. Anybody?
I'm just trying to think.
Okay, well, we can loop around back to this if anybody has any thoughts.
Actually, I have one.
Yeah, what's that?
What if you want less time for community involvement? What if you like working from home because you want to be alone and away from coworkers?
Okay, that's legitimate.
I think for me, I don't really expect to ever retire. Like, I think I would be bored if I retired and wasn't doing something. And so I want to get set up to work at home so that I can adjust my hours the way that I want to, but still have that feeling of being productive and still getting some income.
That's very legitimate. Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, working from home is great. There are tons of advantages when you're working from home instead of commuting to work in somebody else's company. Some of the pros are, obviously, you can't beat the commute. You can work in your pajamas. You make your own schedule. You save money. Here's a big one for me. You can listen to the music you want to listen to while you work, because after years in other people's offices having to listen to somebody else's idea of what good music is to work with, I'm really happy to be able to choose my own. You can use your time more efficiently when you don't have coworkers who are interrupting you all the time. You're only accountable to yourself. You can eat when you want and take the breaks that you need. So would anybody like to add anything to this list?
So I would say that a pro for me is not having someone looking over my shoulder or judging my work like they're in person. So it's nice to work without having a boss or a supervisor hovering.
Okay.
I think also you can sort of decide for yourself what tasks are your priority. Like someone else doesn't have to say like, oh, I need you to work on this instead when you absolutely know that this other thing is actually more important, at least right now.
That's a really good one. Yeah. Because the real priorities and the fake priorities can often get confused when you have multiple people who are involved in handling workflow.
Yeah, I think I've heard it called the difference between what's important and what's urgent.
Yep.
And sometimes very different things.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So working from home is great, but working from home can also be awful. Some of the obstacles include things like you make your own schedule. Now, notice that I put that on both lists. That's because it's very much a two-edged sword. You have the freedom to make your own schedule, which is wonderful. But if you're kind of floundering around and not sure what to do, it can be a real burden too. So it's both a pro and a con. Now, for me, it's much more of a pro, but sometimes it gets to be a pain. You can feel trapped inside the house because you live there and you work there, and it seems like that your entire universe has shrunk to just those four walls. You miss your lunches out. You miss interacting with coworkers. You're accountable only to yourself. Now, again, this is both a pro and a con because, the pro is that you can prioritize on the things that are important, not necessarily the things that are urgent, and you can decide what to work on when. You can decide. One of the things that I like is being able to work on the things that fit with my own kind of biorhythm flow. So, the times of day when I'm most creative, I can work on the creative things and not have somebody else telling me, no, this is the time when you have to do, administrative tasks. And then another big con can be, depending on your situation, way too many distractions from the people that you live with. Now, sometimes, if you're a stay-at-home parent with small children, of course, there's not a lot you can do about that. As your kids get older, they can be taught, what's acceptable and what's not as far as interrupting you when you're working. And when I still had kids at home and I was working from home, they learned that the only legitimate reasons to interrupt me at certain times, and I would let them know when those times were. It wasn't always, but I'd let them know, okay, this is a time when you cannot interrupt me unless somebody's bleeding or the house is on fire. And funnily enough, not funny, but oddly, the person who was hardest to deal with in this respect was not the kids, but my husband, because if I was working and he was home, he felt very entitled to just wander in and start talking to me about anything, anytime. And it took me a long time to learn how to deal with it. But I finally started just asking him, look, if I were working in somebody else's office, would you have called me to tell me this? And if the answer is yes, then I'll stop and listen because I know it's important. If the answer is no, then he learned to just turn around and say okay and leave. But those are some of the cons that I thought of. What other ones can you come up with?
I can see the possibility of getting sloppy, I guess you could say. Like you get so used to being by yourself that you're not really necessarily, I guess, taking care of yourself in some ways.
That's actually a fairly common problem. People stop, their personal hygiene slips, and yeah. Kitty, do you have any thoughts?
Not sure. I mean, the too many distractions from people you live with one is pretty real for me since I live with roommates. And we have, we're all young, so we work strange hours. So the times that we're at home often overlaps, and sometimes I'm trying to get things done while my roommate doesn't realize I'm trying to get things done.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not sure if I have anything to add.
Okay, well, we can circle back if something occurs to you.
Sure.
Okay, now setting up your home office. This is something that a lot of people don't give much thought to when they're starting out. But I am a firm believer that if you're going to work from home regularly, you need a dedicated work area. Now, ideally, it should be a separate room with a door you can close. And actually, in several different surveys, the top complaint of people who work at home is the lack of privacy. And it's not necessarily privacy from other people they live with, seeing what they're doing or interrupting them, but just in terms of general noise levels. And this is something right now I have a dedicated workspace, but it's not in a room with a door that closes. And there are times when I send my husband out of the house, like now, because I just can't deal with the background noise. If I have a client consultation or a coaching session, I'll let him know ahead of time, and he'll arrange his schedule so that he has something he can be doing somewhere else rather than being here. Because having somebody, for me, and not everybody's like this, but for me, having somebody here when I'm coaching somebody, it's a very inhibiting factor for me. So I do much better if I feel like I have the space to myself. So if I have a room with a door I can shut, that's perfect. But if I don't, then, I work it out with him. And fortunately, we don't have small kids at home anymore. So that's no longer an issue for us. There are a lot of reasons to have a dedicated work area, even if you can't close a door. First off, when you sit down at your desk or table or whatever it is, it puts your brain into a work mode right away. If it's a dedicated workspace, when you go to that space that it's time to work, and your brain learns that very quickly. So it's much easier to make the transition from, living to working. You can arrange your stuff in the most effective way. You don't need to keep moving it around, like if you were working at the kitchen table or something. I heard from a digital nomad recently who was in a situation where for about 6 months, the only space he had to work in a very tiny apartment was he would set up his laptop on the bed and drag a chair over to it and sit there kind of, hunched over his laptop on the bed, which is not a good way to do your best work, to put it mildly. You can, and you should put the thought into it and arrange it to be ergonomic and comfortable. And you can do that with a dedicated workspace in ways that you can't if you're using a shared space. Also, when you're in your workspace, just you being there becomes a signal to your family or your roommates that you're in work mode. And so it's a signal to them that, okay, now it's time when, he or she needs privacy to work. Now, we've talked a little bit about some of the pros and cons of working from home. There are challenges as well. Some of the common challenges include things like feelings of isolation. Some people have difficulty motivating themselves to get to work. It's just too tempting to turn on the TV or play a video game or pick up a book or whatever. There are distractions because you're living there as well as working there. The laundry is screaming out to be, moved from the washer to the dryer, or, the kitchen counters are a mess and need cleaning, or, whatever it is. And then, of course, interruptions from people you live with. One of the hardest ones is expectations from friends and family that you're available to do things with them anytime, because they really don't get that you're working when you work from home. And it's much harder to train people who don't live with you about what's involved than people, who you do live with. So, I get calls or emails sometimes from people saying, hey, a bunch of us are going out to lunch tomorrow. Can you join us? Well, no, I can't. If you'd asked me a week ago so that I could have arranged things to free up that time, sure. But I can't do it, on short notice like that. And then probably the biggest thing is that it becomes very difficult to separate working time from living time. And I'm very guilty of this. Last night, I walked over to my computer around 9:30 because I had one specific thing I needed to do pretty quickly. It was a response to a question that a client had emailed me, and she needed an answer right away. So I took care of that, and then I thought, well, while I'm here, I'm just going to do something else. And the next thing I knew, it was 11:15. So you need to get good with yourself about drawing the line between when it's time to work and when it's time to stop. Kitty, you do a lot of work from home already. Is there anything else that you find to be a challenge?
Honestly, you pretty much covered the big ones for me. The distractions, the interruptions, the expectations from people that you're available. Like a lot of people really dismiss or don't really realize what I do or what goes into what I do.
Sure.
So that even if I'm actively hard at work, like they don't see that. They just see, oh, she's on her computer. That means I can talk to her.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's usually not the case. I actually, though, in responding to kind of one of those challenges recently, because it's really hard for me to divorce household work from work,
Mm-hmm.
in that I'll have one big long to-do list, and the urgent things, tend to get done, but they're the urgent home things and not the urgent work things. And so I never thought I would do this. I mean, Susanna, you know that I'm a big planner advocate.
Uh-huh.
And I like the pen and paper kind of planner, and I've got a really big one, and I never thought that I would add on to that because it's, there's so much room, but I ended up caving and buying a smaller secondary planner so that I can divide household life tasks from work because there's so much work I have to juggle anyway, and it actually really is helping me so far to keep it compartmentalized like that.
I can definitely see that because I don't work primarily from home, but with the work that I do work from home probably like once every, like maybe 1 week out of the month or so. And I find that I have to like make myself a schedule of like when I'm going to do, the stuff around the house that I haven't been doing because I usually work 12 hours a day when I'm not working from home.
Mm-hmm.
So the laundry has piled up, the dishes have piled up, the rug, the floor needs to be swept, and I have to make a schedule to not do those things when I'm working from home.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Some of the rewards of working from home. There are definitely challenges, but I mean, in my opinion, the rewards far outnumber them. Um, so I can wear whatever I want. It's the best commute ever. I mean, my commute is 10 feet. I save money. I'm responsible only to myself. And here's the other one that's a really big thing for me. I'm a total night owl, always have been. And as a night owl now, I can work the schedule that's ideal for me and be more productive with the time that I'm working than I ever could when I was having to, show up somewhere at 8 or 8:30 in the morning, and adhere to their schedule. Um, so those are my big rewards for working from home.
I would add one that's a big one for me is that I can spend more time with my pets. Because when
Okay.
I'm away from home, I don't get to see them and they might be kind of cooped up. So just working at home means I can always kind of look over to the other corner of the room and see them there. So.
Right.
Yeah. I think for me, although I do need that interaction with people, I also need a lot of time by myself. And so being able to work from home, I can get away from people when I need to. I guess for me right now, it's a good balance between working from home and working in the office because I can do both. But unfortunately, I can't always do them when I need to. So
Yeah.
that's one thing, being with people when I need to be or being by myself when I need to be.
Uh-huh.
Sure. Okay. So when you work from home, sometimes you want an alternative to working from your home office. There are, a lot of reasons for that. Sometimes you just want to be around people. Sometimes you need to get away from busy family life in order to focus better at the task that you're working on. One of the things that I deal with is these damn leaf blowers that take over my neighborhood a couple times a week. And they're on a regular schedule most of the time. So when I know they're coming, I grab my laptop and I head out because when they're going outside, I find the noise so distracting and so annoying. I can't get any work done. So obviously coffee shops and cafes are great. The library is good. Some places have parks with public Wi-Fi, and in nice weather, that can be really excellent. So, for the times that you do need to get away from your home office, there are some good options out there. And actually, there have been some pretty conclusive studies that show that for certain types of tasks that require a high level of concentration, the ambiance of a coffee shop is actually more conducive to getting that work done than working in either an open office situation or a private office. Something about the level of background busyness and noise just really helps you focus. There also are more and more now we're seeing co-working spaces, generally in larger cities or in areas that have special appeal to digital nomads. And usually for those, of course, they all vary because ownership is all different, but you can often pay by the hour, by the day, the week, the month. They usually have spaces available in open work areas, or you can rent a private desk or sometimes a private office. A lot of them have conference rooms and other kinds of facilities that would help you if you need to hold a group meeting of some kind. So that's a good option too, if you're in a place where they're available. Um, and here are some references if you're not familiar with co-working spaces. And you'll have access to this slideshow afterwards, so you don't have to worry about copying these down now. Let's see. Oh, I skipped one. So here's what my ideal work from home day looks like. I wake up at the time that works for me because I'm a night owl. And that's not 6 a.m, I guarantee you. I shower and dress because I'm really not a big fan of working in my PJs. I just like knowing that I could if I wanted to. I enjoy a leisurely breakfast while I plan my day. And then I go to my desk and I attack the most challenging task of the day. After that, I take a break and kind of finish making myself ready to face the world. So generally, I don't put on my makeup until after I've gotten to this point in my day. And at this point, I'll also do a few small household tasks. So if I need to start a load of laundry, that's when I'll do it. So after that short break, I go back to my desk and tackle the second biggest project. Then I take a break for exercise or just to get out of the house for a little bit. And then I have another leisurely meal, and I finish up my work day with mundane or administrative tasks that don't require a lot of brain power. So, of course, not all my days follow this pattern, but it's what I strive for, and it's what works really well for me. So you have to ask yourself, are you ready to work from home? One of the ways you can tell if you're ready is to sit down and make a list of the benefits that you want from working from home. And then think about the challenges you'll face based on your individual situation and make a plan to deal with them. And at this point, are there any questions?
Have you actually worked at all in one of the co-working spaces? Have you?
I actually have. So I can
go ahead. Go ahead, because I actually haven't.
Yeah, there's a co-working facility that's located near me where I live. I'm in Providence, Rhode Island. And there's a company that recently opened called Sprout Co-working. I'm not sure if they're local or regional or what, but they've opened a couple of locations nearby, and they have, it's a nice setup. They have a couple of different rooms. So not only do they have different meeting rooms available for their members to meet in, different sizes, like 2 to 4 people, 10 to 12 people, like different size rooms. But then they have like 3 different desk areas. One has kind of private cubicles, and that's one that you can, I think you have to pay a higher member rate to get your own like little private office. But there's, otherwise there's a lot of desks, there's a lot of chairs, there's a lot of little counters, it's quiet, and they do have a kitchen off to the side, so you can go, you can bring food and keep it in the fridge, you can prep a meal, you can make tea and coffee, and they do have like drinks for free available and like snacks and things like that. And one of the nice things I discovered about this co-working facility, and it's possible that others may offer something like this too. I'm not a member there. I can't afford a membership there, but they do have like a monthly free day. Like the first Friday of the month is open for people to come in and check it out and just work for the day. So that's how I checked it out.
Yeah. A lot of the ones that I've been in touch with will give you a day or a half day pass if you're considering a membership, so that you can go and try it out.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was just thinking that with my personality, I'm sort of, I guess, the ambivert, where I do need to be around people some, but I do need to be by myself some. That kind of space would probably be better for me as opposed to just strictly working from home.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was just curious about it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you know if you have any that are near you?
I have no idea. I'm not looking into it right now. I'm actually in South Korea right now, and I'm going to be moving to China in a few months.
Oh,
So I
wow.
have, yeah.
Nice.
So it's not something that I'm looking at doing immediately, but it's something that I'm gradually working towards,
Mhm.
eventually. So I haven't really,
Sure.
you know,
Well, that
laying
sounds
down plans for like 5 years in the future, kind of
right.
thing.
That sounds exciting. Any other questions?
Not at this time.
No, I think I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay. Well, Nick, thanks for coming. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you, same here.
And hopefully you'll be able to come to the next one. I'm planning on having one in June, and then I think I'm going to definitely not do one in July, because it's July 5th would be the first Thursday, and nobody's going to show up for that. So I'll take a month off, but then we'll start again.
Mhm.
So, okay.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you so
great.
much.
Have a good evening.
Have
You
a good
too.
one.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.